then Krishna says, it is not that you will attain me in the future. It is, he says, you have already attained me. You are living in me, Krishna says. So, that is 12.8. And then if that is not possible, Krishna gives 12.9 and 12.10 as intermediate steps. He says, here, this is a stage of absorption in Krishna. If that absorption is not possible, then Krishna says there can be cultivation, practice. We can't be absorbed in him, then we can do repetition for the purpose of cultivation. So repeated practice, abhyasa means repetition, but it is for cultivation. If we can't do that also, then Krishna says that abhyasya samarthosri mat karma paramo bhava. So then you can contribute. You can do some service. So that means naturally the mind is absorbed in Krishna. If the mind is not naturally absorbed in Krishna, then try to focus it on Krishna. If we can't focus on Krishna, then try to serve Krishna. So we could say this is like the arc of Bhakti. So absorption is the highest. If absorption is not possible, repetition. So in one sense, at the level of absorption, our heart, our entire being is given to Krishna. At the level of repetition, it's like our mind. You could call it repetition, or it's more of recollection. Repetition of what? It's repetition of remembrance. So here we are trying to give our mind to Krishna. And contribution is, we try to give our body to Krishna. So we use our body in Krishna's service. So heart here refers to our entire being. We completely give ourselves to Krishna. So it's an incremental process. And in fact, Krishna goes one level below, and in 12 level he says, if you cannot serve me, then at least serve some higher cause. At least be selfless. So in fact, he says so selflessness we can cultivate. That means that if we can come and do some service in the temple, cook prasad, serve prasad, or do some other seva, that's wonderful. If we can't do that, then you do some kind of service. We can do something for poor people. Basically, think of something beyond ourselves. That's the idea. I'll depict this in another way. We can say that if this is a person, so most of the time, our consciousness is centered on ourselves. So this is self-centered consciousness. So most people nowadays have followed the Western way of living. And while there are positives, negatives, in the West, especially when from Europe people went to America, America is a culture of individualism. Is it a rugged individualist? I'll go alone, I'll go to the frontiers, I'll fight against the world, I'll expand civilization. So individualism itself is not a bad thing. But from there, it gets degenerated. Where it becomes not just, okay, I am an individual, I want to do what I want to do, but I don't care for anyone else. So people become I specialists. Not I specialists, but I specialists. So, from that individualism comes narcissism. Narcissism is where I become the sole center of the universe and we don't care for anyone else. So, from that being self-centered, Krishna is saying, I'll explain this whole process of how pure emotional service comes. So from here, we start becoming concerned for someone else. It could be our family, it could be beyond our family to our community. So this is a slightly expanded consciousness. So the consciousness is expanded where we are thinking of somebody else. You may think, okay, these people are from my country, so I should connect with them, care for them. These people are from my community, or these people are from my gender, these people are from my educational background. So some sense of commonality comes up. So then we want to care for them, we want to serve them. So this is the expansion of consciousness which Krishna talks about in 12:11. Now we think of someone beyond ourselves. And at one level this is good to think about others. But then above us all is Krishna. Mhm. So if we care for Krishna, then actually we connect with others at a deeper level. So when our consciousness doesn't just rise, spread horizontally, but also spreads vertically. Then, so here it was more like a horizontal spread. Here it is a holistic spread. That means it's horizontal and vertical. So this is where devotional service begins. And when that becomes more and more selfless. So we could say this is the first stage, the second stage is the third stage. So like a small baby now, is self-centered, not because the baby is selfish, but because the baby is just not aware of anything else. Whenever the baby feels pain, the baby will start crying. Feeling hungry, the baby will start crying. That's just because the baby does not have the cognitive capacity to be aware of anything else. But if somebody is an adult starts crying over some small problems, complaining, nagging, then often don't be a baby, isn't it? A baby crying actually inspires others to comfort the baby. But an adult person who is self-centered, all about my problems and my problems and my problems and my desires and my cares, it just seems annoying. It's not very attractive. So, our consciousness is naturally meant to expand. So, it's a gradual expansion. So, in 12.10, as I mentioned, 12.11, Krishna is talking about this. And then, as we move forward, 12.10, 12.9, 12.8, they are all increasing stages of this elevation of Bhakti. That as our relationship with Krishna develops. So, pure devotional service means that we have a relationship with Krishna. Now, relationships can be of two broad different kinds. Say, generally, what happens is when two people interact with each other, that means say, I do something for you and you do something for me. And that's just natural. But this interaction, this reciprocation can happen in two different ways. One is this reciprocation can be transactional. Transactional means, okay, it's like we go to a shop, we do a transaction. Okay, I pay some money, I get a product. That's transactional. But the other is, it can be transformation. Transformational means that interaction actually transforms us. So, when, say, parents interact with a child, now that is transformation. In caring for the child, the parents themselves have to become more mature. They have to become more responsible, more thoughtful. And by the care of the parents, the child grows up, the child becomes more mature, the child becomes more responsible. So a transactional relationship is very different from a transformational relationship. In a transformational relationship, essentially both people grow, both people become better by that. It is parents make children, but children also make parents. And biologically, somebody can become a parent, but having a child forces the parent to psychologically become a parent, take responsibility to grow. So basically, we could say that the two people, they not only become better, but they also come closer to each other. So that is a transformational relationship. They become better and they come closer to each other. That is one of the purposes of the Krishna consciousness movement that Srila Prabhupada mentions. This is to bring all people closer to each other and closer to Krishna, the prime entity. So this is the basic principle of a relationship, that a relationship, especially that is a close relationship, that it is meant to be a close relationship, that it should be transformation. Now the same dynamic applies in our relationship with Krishna. When we are connecting with Krishna, of course we can say Krishna is already perfect. Om Purnam. He is. So in that sense, Krishna doesn't become better. But in our interaction with Krishna, it is we become better. We come closer to Krishna and we become better. So our relationship with Krishna can also have either of these characteristics. It can be transactional or it can be transformational. So what does transactional mean? When I was introduced to Bhakti about 30 years ago, so I started sharing the knowledge of Bhagavad with my friends, my relatives. So one of my uncles, he told me, yeah, I believe in God. He's happy there, I'm happy here. So the idea is that there is no need for any transaction only. Isn't it? He's there, he's doing his business there, I'm doing my business here. And then sometimes if there is some trouble, then we feel, okay, I need to go to God. And that time we go to God, oh God, please, please help me. And then we offer our prayers. And if God helps us, then we say, thank you, bye-bye. So it becomes a transactional approach. Like I give you some worship, I give you some prayers, I give you some donations, I offer some, do some austerity, and then you give me some blessings. Now, that is also not a bad thing. At least there is a relationship with Krishna. So, that is a good thing. If you see in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, from 7:16 to 7:19, Krishna talks about the evolution of devotion. So right now, before we are going into the characteristics of pure devotional service, I am explaining what pure devotional service itself means, giving the background for that. So pure devotional service is primarily a relationship that is transformation. So in 7:16, Krishna talks about how there are 4 kinds of people who come to him. Does anyone know these 4 kinds of people? Artho, Artharthi, Jignasu, Jnani. Excellent. So there are these 4 kinds of people, and Jiva Goswami explains that these 4 can also refer to the 4 varnas. That those who are artho, those who are distressed, they broadly correlate with the Shudra varna. Like that Artharthi, Jityansu, Jnani, they correspond with the 4 varnas. But the idea is, at this point, when people come to Krishna, most of them, they come because they need something from Krishna. And they get that, and that's all. And that's fine. But Krishna, he says somebody comes to Krishna for some reason. Now we will use different metaphors to understand this principle of a relationship with Krishna. So when we approach Krishna for whatever reason, is Krishna happy or is Krishna unhappy? He is happy. He's happy that you have come to him. In fact, he says that if you look at this verse, 7:18, I'll explain the verse and then you can recite it. Krishna is saying, Udaraha. Udara is broad-minded, charitable, generous. Udar Dilkya. Sarva Evaite. All of them, Krishna is saying. That Udara Sarva Evaite. Jnani, so, but he's saying among these four categories, Jnani to Atmaiva me matam. Among these, the Jnani I consider to be just like myself. Jnani to Atmaiva me matam. So, Krishna is saying all of them are Udara, but the Jnani is special. Still, this word Udara is very significant. Ramanujacharya, in his commentary, raises this question. See, whenever there is any kind of reciprocation, say there is a donor and there is a receiver. So, normally, if we were to use the adjective charitable, whom would we consider charitable? Donor, isn't it? This is how we would normally describe. This is normal usage. Oh, you give some special charity to this person, you are so kind. But in this verse 7:18, Krishna is using the word Udara to refer to the receiver of charity. This is, who is Udara is saying? Those people who come to me to ask for something, they are Udara. So, how can the receiver of charity be considered charitable? The receiver of charity is dependent on the giver of charity who is charitable. So, it's explained that actually Krishna longs for our devotion. So, one of the characteristics of Bhakti is described, it attracts even Krishna. So, Krishna is hungry and thirsty for our devotion. And when we offer devotion to Krishna, whatever be the reason for the devotion, but if we offer devotion, he is pleased by that. It's like, say, a the child has somehow gone away from the parents for whatever reason. And after a long time, the child is in trouble. The child approaches the parent. The child may be young, maybe well situated, but the child is in trouble. Then the parents come to know how much trouble the child is in. And the child comes there and asks for help. Will the parents say, it's only when you had trouble you remembered me? No. The parents will say, if you were in so much trouble, why did it take so long for you to come to me? Thank God that you came to me now. So, that Krishna refers to even those who come to me for their own purposes as Udaraha. This actually shows Krishna's love for us. That Krishna cares for us so much that our interest is not primarily in Krishna. Our interest is in what Krishna will give us. Like the child will be in trouble and may ask parents, can you give me some money or can you give me this help, can you give me that help? So even though the child has come to the parents for, not the parents' sake, but for what they can give, still the parents are happy that you come. So that is the way Krishna's love is seen. Now when we talk about the giver relationship, we can use the parent-child relationship as a metaphor. And from that, we see Krishna's love. But if we can take another metaphor, to understand another dynamic relationship. Say if there is a proposes to the woman, please marry me. And the woman asks, why do you want to marry? And the man replies,
That won't be the most flattering proposal.
Now, if the girl say agrees to marry the boy, that shows her love for him, not his love for her. That she wants to be with him, that's why she's accepting his proposal. Later on, even if this boy situation improves, he has other options, at that time he still stays with that girl. That will show his love for her. So similarly, when we come to Krishna, many times people pray, they say, I've tried everything, nothing else works. Oh God, you are my last resort. Please help me. So we may think that we are expressing our desperation, our intensity, and that is true. But it is like saying, Krishna, you are my last option. I tried everything else, nothing worked. But Krishna accepts us. That is his love for us. But later on, when other things start seeming to work for us, that okay, maybe our health is not really recovered, our wealth, we have lost our wealth, some relationships are not working, job is an issue, those problems get solved. At that time, do we still stay with Krishna? Do we still stay connected with Krishna? That will show our love for Krishna. So, in that sense, I am now like to talking about the difference between say, devotional service and pure emotional service. So, devotional service means that we come to Krishna, but we may come to Krishna for our interests. And if those interests are fulfilled, fine. Then we may not really stay connected with Krishna. But we come to Krishna even when we have other options in the world. Even when other things are working in our life, at that time we understand that Krishna, you are still the most important person for me. So that is where we come to Krishna either for our interest or Krishna becomes our interest. We don't come to Krishna for our interest, but Krishna becomes our interest. And if you forget everything from this class, this one figure illustrates this point. Generally, for most of us, there are three broad factors in existence. There is we, the soul, then there is the world, and then there is Krishna. So, for us, we could say, when we are largely materialistic, we may be practicing bhakti, but we are materialistic. At that time, the world is very big for us, and Krishna is small. That means, oh, I want fame, I want wealth, I want power. That's what is more important. And if God can help me to get that, that's good. I'll go to God also. So God is not very important for us. But when we become devoted to Krishna, then the dynamic changes. The world becomes small and Krishna becomes big for us. So this is the stage of where we are moving towards pure emotional service. This, that Krishna becomes the bigger reality. We see this in the songs of the Vaishnava Acharyas, where they say that Sampade Vipade, whether it's prosperity or adversity, there is Shitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu, Tatha Mana Apamana. The dualities of this world will come and they will go. But Krishna, you are the anchor of my life. You are the most important reality for me. So we want to come to this level. And this level where Krishna becomes the bigger reality. That is the level of realization where we can practice pure emotional service. Now, what does it mean when we say Krishna becomes the bigger reality? Isn't Krishna already the bigger reality? Isn't Krishna already the biggest reality in fact? What do you think? So then what does it, if Krishna is already the biggest reality, Mattah Parataram Nanya Kinchidasti Dhanya, there is no one bigger than me,
then what does it mean to say Krishna becomes the bigger reality? By realization. It is in terms of our priority. How important do we consider Krishna to be? Krishna is always the biggest reality, and Krishna even showed Duryodhan his Vishwarupa, how he is the biggest reality. And what happened to Duryodhan? Nothing. It's amazing how the mind can come up with reasons to continue to believe what we want to believe. So when later on Duryodhana was reminded Krishna is God, Krishna showed the Vishwarupa. Did you see that? He said, actually, Krishna lived in a village in his childhood. He had no work to do. That's why he performed some tapasya and he could show some magical forms. If I didn't have so much responsibility as a prince while growing up, I could also have done tapasya and I could have shown a form bigger than Krishna's. So he didn't, even after seeing that form, Krishna did not become the bigger reality. So it is in terms of our prioritization. So we want Krishna to become the bigger reality for us. And it's not just that, there's one more difference. It is that initially for us, Krishna is the means and the world is the ends. That means I worship Krishna so that I can get good marks in the exam, so that I can get a good life partner, so that my health can improve. All those things. Now again, this is not a bad thing. It is good that we are worshipping Krishna for whatever reason, but it is not the best thing. However, when we grow, here the world becomes the means and Krishna becomes the ends. That means if a devotee gets fame, a devotee will use that to make Krishna famous. If a devotee gets wealth, a devotee will use that wealth to help build a beautiful temple for Krishna, to make a beautiful temple of Krishna in their own home. If a devotee has some ability, the devotee will try to find how can I use this ability to serve Krishna. So, in this way, the dynamic changes. So, when we are talking about pure devotional service, what does it mean? It means, from what we discussed, three things. That pure devotional service means our relationship with Krishna it is not transactional, it is transformational. That we are connecting with Krishna not just to get something from him, but actually to change ourselves for the better. The second is that for us, Krishna becomes bigger than the world. And the third is that Krishna becomes the ends for us. And the world is not just a means, but it is a means, okay, whatever we get from the world, that is okay. So, Sudama, even when we had very little, he brought some just broken rice to offer to the Lord. So, whatever means he had, he said, let me make some offering to the Lord. So, this is the idea of pure devotional service. Now, why should we actually at all practice pure devotional service? So, when we talk about any relationship, so till now we talked about what does this relationship mean? Now, we all may have different reasons. Say, if you want to build a relationship with someone, you want to build a good relationship with our boss, you say, okay, then my boss, my job will be secure, maybe I'll be promoted. If we want to build a relationship with our extended family, so that if there is some trouble, they will support me in some way. Or, these are, we could have various reasons. So when we say that we're talking about pure devotional service, so understanding the glory of pure devotional service can inspire us to practice pure devotional service. So, when we talk about pure devotional service, there are two ways of understanding this, that or other characteristics. Hmm. What does it mean? That these are what can inspire us. These can inspire us to practice pure devotional service. But secondly, we aspire toward those things. That means if pure devotional service means that, oh, this actually attracts Krishna also. Therefore, I aspire to come to the level of purity by which Krishna becomes attracted. So, we'll come to this difference later. If this difference is not clear, don't worry, the difference does not make so much difference. At least at this stage. But it's almost like inspiration is something that comes to us. Aspiration is something that we cultivate. Like I aspire for something. I am inspired by something. So there's a slight difference between them, but it's not a major difference. So at this point, are there any questions? Because I would like to clarify the concept of pure devotional service before we go into its characteristics. Are there any questions at this point? Okay, I'd just like to know how many questions are there. Then I'll decide how much. One, okay, two, okay. Okay, so I'll just introduce the characteristics of pure devotional service. We'll take one or two, and then we'll have questions then. So should we go to 10:30 or 10:45? 10:45. Okay. So I'll talk for 15-20 minutes more. 15 minutes more. So now the characteristics of pure devotional service are often described. If we have like a flower, they are described in terms of sets of petals. So these come in sets of two to each. So the first two, does anyone remember the six? Anyone know the six characteristics? Yeah. So klesha gni. Klesha gni means removes distress. Then shubhada. Shubhada is it brings auspiciousness. So I'll explain why these come in this kind of sets. These are considered like a couplet. So it removes distress, it brings auspiciousness in our life. This is more in terms of this set is it's more in terms of effect on us. How it affects us. So that is, it will remove distress from our life, it will bring auspiciousness. Now there is a slight difference between auspiciousness and happiness. We'll talk about that difference. It's similar but not exactly the same. Then what are the next two characteristics? Moksha laghuta kruta. So moksha laghuta kruta means it makes liberation seem insignificant. Generally, for those who know something about spirituality, for them moksha is considered to be life's highest goal. But bhakti, especially pure devotional service, is so glorious that even moksha seems not so great. There's something greater. And the other is moksha labdha, and the other is sudurlabha. It is very rarely attained. So now we can say moksha itself is rare, and that is true. Moksha laghuta, that it makes it laghu. Very laghu is tiny, small. Vibhu is great. So moksha laghuta, it makes moksha itself small. So here it is more in terms of the it is more like the nature of bhakti itself. One is its effect on us, but these two is more of that aid is such that it makes something else which is glorious seem not so glorious. So that is moksha, these two. And what are the last two? Yeah, these are a little more difficult. Sandrananda Visheshashika, I'll explain this later. And then lastly is Krishna Karshini. So it makes Krishna Karshini, it makes actually Krishna attracted to us. Krishna Karshini. So I'll explain this. These are more soul and Krishna centered. Sandrananda Visheshashika means it is filled with concentrated bliss. So we'll focus more on these last two characteristics. We'll talk briefly, but we'll focus primarily on the first two characteristics because those are what are related with us. So these six characteristics, it's the way this is described. It's a very interesting description that it's like it's not just the characteristic of Krishna, it's not the characteristic of the soul, it is the characteristic of the relationship itself. Normally, we don't think of a relationship as something different from the people in the relationship. It's like you say, I have a good relationship with that person. If you think I have a good relationship with him, that means you are in a good illusion. So the idea is we don't think of relationship itself having any characteristics. It's like when I say I have a good relationship, what it means is that that person's disposition towards me is good, my disposition toward that person is good. We don't think of relationship itself, generally speaking, as having some characteristics to itself. We think of the people in the relationship and what kind of disposition they have. So, if there are two people in any kind of relationship, so then what does it mean to say the characteristics of the relationship itself? So, here the idea is that it certainly depends on the two people in any relationship. But certain relationships themselves have certain characteristics. Say, for example, if you consider parent-child relationship. Now, there are many different relationships in the world, but one characteristic of the parent-child relationship is that it brings a sense of responsibility. We can say responsibility there in every relationship. But in a husband-wife relationship, there are other dynamics. Responsibility is not the primary thing that comes up. So, this idea that relationships themselves have characteristics. So, for example, there is in the Western world nowadays there is a lot of intermixing among the genders. Every culture has had some gender boundaries. But what exactly the gender boundaries will be, that change has changed with the passage of culture. So now often people ask this question, can a man and a woman be friends? So what is the difference between, say, a friendly relationship and a romantic relationship? Now, there is, in the male-female dynamic, there is something intrinsic to the relationship. Now we can say, yes, a man and woman can be friends. They don't have to be enemies. In that sense, they can be friends. But the difference between a friendship and, say, a romantic relationship, in that in friendship, it's more like the two people share an interest. It's like generally the vision of friendship is two people are together looking at something. Whereas in a romance, they are each other's interest. So like romance means two people are looking at each other. So what happens now in friendship, it doesn't mean that we are not interested in the other person. But generally, friendship, okay, we like sports, we are interested in politics, we would like to do this service. So we have some shared interests. And from that, we also become interested in each other. But the primary thing in friendship is that there is something to talk about, some shared interest. So, but whereas, so that's why a romantic relationship and a friendly relationship, the difference is that we can have many friends. But a romantic relationship becomes more exclusive. Like in Facebook nowadays, you have this, people, are you single? Are you married? Are you, don't want to mention, whatever options come up. So if somebody says, okay, I'm married. Then you ask, whom are you married to? Oh no, I'm married in general. There is no such thing as marriage in general. Marriage is in particular, isn't it? So the idea is that, again, what I'm talking about over here is that relationships themselves have certain intrinsic characteristics. So, so similarly, the relationship with Krishna also has certain intrinsic characteristics. And those characteristics, the more we understand and appreciate them, the more we can become inspired and transformed by that. So, now what those characteristics are and how we can better understand them, that I'll discuss in tomorrow's session. We'll be having this 4-part series tomorrow morning and then Monday and Tuesday evenings. Sorry, Sunday and Monday evenings. Yeah. Sorry, morning. Sunday and Monday morning. So tomorrow also all 4 morning only? Okay, Sunday and Monday evening, correct. Tomorrow evening you have separate class. Okay. So let me summarize what we discussed today. Today we're talking in the topic of the characteristics of pure devotional service. I talked about first what is pure devotional service, the concept of pure devotional service. So first we discussed about how that the relationship itself, it can be either transactional or transformational. So we discussed how for most people, say the relationship initially might be self-centered. Then from being self-centered, it grows towards we start caring for someone else. That's like the more like a horizontal expansion of consciousness. But as we grow, we don't just care for others, we also start caring for Krishna. And then when that happens, it's like a holistic expansion of consciousness. So it's horizontal and vertical, both. So this is where we start connecting with Krishna. So we talked about the sequence from 12.8 to 12.11, the arcs. We discussed what is this arcs. Anyone remembers? Aspiration is not aspiration. What is it? Absorption. So at the highest level, just absorb in Krishna. Otherwise, we try to remember Krishna. So recollection and repetition of the recollection. So this level, we are offering the heart to Krishna. Here we are offering our mind. We are trying to focus our mind on Krishna. Heart represents to our entire being we offer to Krishna. Then C was no, contribution. Here it is contribution. It means we do some seva. Here we offer our body to Krishna. And otherwise, we at least cultivate some selflessness. That means, at some level, something for something beyond our. We do something for someone beyond ourselves. See, nowadays there is a lot of environmental activism is there, or there is concern for social justice. People want to be a part of something bigger. So this is the sequence from 12.8 to 11 which Krishna talks about. So we talked about the characteristic of how relationships themselves are dynamic. And then when we talk about the Krishna soul relationship, we talk about metaphors over there. How that the parent-child relationship, how Krishna, he is happy that we come to him for any reason. In 718, he says that he calls us Udara. And that shows Krishna's love for us. That whatever reason we come to him, he is happy. But then the boy-girl relationship or the young, that relationship metaphor, that shows that do we want to be with Krishna even when things are working for us? That shows our love for Krishna. So we discussed how initially the world is big and Krishna is small, but eventually for us, the world becomes big and the world becomes small and Krishna becomes big. And through this, we discussed how not just that Krishna becomes, initially he is the means, but eventually he becomes the ends for us. And then lastly, we discussed the idea of the characteristic of relationship itself. It's not just the characteristics of people in the relationship, but just like a parenting relationship brings responsibility. So a romantic relationship brings a certain level of exclusivity. Mm. A friendly relationship has some kind of shared interests. So, like that, relationship itself can have characteristics. And the 6 characteristics that are intrinsic to the relationship with Krishna itself, we will be discussing over the next sessions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Yes, any question? Yes, you have the mic.
Hare Krishna, brothers and sisters. So you told that Krishna is hungry for our devotion service, and he is boredom also, complete in himself. Many times we hear in the lecture that Krishna does not need our self. We are not required for the Krishna, for his sake. And it's our benefit to practice Krishna consciousness. How to reconcile both the concepts?
Yes. So, Krishna, he doesn't need us, but he wants us. We need Krishna, but we don't want Krishna. That is the situation. See, need means that actually that person can't survive. It's not like that for Krishna. Krishna is self-satisfied. Krishna is enriched. But Krishna wants us. Eko Bahusya. Krishna wants to share his love with others. See, the example is somebody has lot of food, more than what they can eat. Then they go to their neighbors, they go call some friends. So they want to share the food with others. They don't need anyone over there because they have enough food for themselves. But they want to share that food with others. So that is, Krishna is so complete in himself that he wants to actually share with others. Whereas, suppose somebody has no food at all, then even if they have a neighbor that they don't like, still, okay, I don't have any food. Just go to that neighbor or go to that relative and ask them, do you have any food? So like that is when we have no food, we actually need Krishna. We cannot exist without Krishna's mercy. Right now my capacity to speak, your capacity to understand, it all comes from Krishna. Our existence itself, it is based on Krishna. Many times people say, if I don't work and I don't put food on the table, is God going to provide me food? And even if we work and we put food on the table, it is, we don't even have the capacity to digest our food. Actually, digestion itself is a very complex mechanism. We have medical science advancing a lot. We have prosthetic limbs, we have dialysis units, we have pacemakers. We have not been able to create an artificial digestive machine. It's just way too complicated. See, the only time we think of our digestion is when it doesn't work. But actually, Krishna gives and forgives. We get and forget. So we need Krishna, but we don't want him. That's why the dynamic is different. Thank you. Yes.
Prabhuji, you have very nicely explained about the horizontal and vertical expansion of ourselves, thought process, and we get inclined to the Krishna. But what about the in-between position, where we are into Krishna consciousness, and specifically in this country, we are trying to practice Krishna consciousness by spreading the message of Krishna. But somehow or the other, we get stuck into the interim position where we try to incline towards Krishna, but our faith and consciousness gets shakes. We want to reach to Krishna, but certain situation arises, and we can become baffled, and we don't want that situation where we do not want Krishna, we want a solution. So how to broadenly expand our thought process so that we can reach to Krishna in that situation also.
Yes. First of all, life, the question is that sometimes when we want to connect with Krishna, but when things become very difficult in our situation, life, then the faith becomes shaken. We want to connect with Krishna, but we are not able to stay connected. So I'll be talking more about faith in tomorrow evening session and how to maintain our faith amid adversity also. But first thing is that it is natural. We don't have to be too hard on ourselves. That even Draupadi, when she meets Krishna after they have been exiled, Krishna comes to see them. And Draupadi is upset with Krishna. He says, Krishna, I called you. I needed you. I was desperate for you. He says, I'm your devotee, I'm your friend, I'm your relative. Why did you not come? How could you not come to my help? Now we may say Krishna actually came and helped. But contrary to what we may see in the Mahabharata televised series, we often see that Krishna is smiling and Krishna has raised his hand in direction and from there endless cloth is coming. It is not like that. There, just her cloth seemed to be mystically expanded. And how it happened, nobody could understand it. See, when she didn't see Krishna, of course her eyes were closed. She had called out to Krishna. But the point I'm making over here is that even she had questions. So, actually speaking, that when we go through difficulties in life, it is not that we have to repress our emotions in the name of pure emotion. We are feeling disturbed, we are feeling concerned, we are feeling worried, we are feeling hurt, we are feeling angry. All these emotions will naturally come. They are a part of the relationship. And if we have a real relationship with Krishna, all those emotions will also come. But there's a difference between, see, it's like if there's a serious relationship. Sometimes two people who are in a very serious relationship, say parents have, their child is sick, and there are two different treatments available. And the mother is in favor of one treatment, the father is in favor of another treatment. Now both of them may have a very heated discussion about what to do. But underlying that anger is actually a deep connection. They care for each other, they care for their child, and that's why they're concerned. So, if there is a serious relationship means that relationship is big enough to include negative emotions. Negative emotions could be fear, it could be anger, if we say, oh, you got angry with me, you spoke like that to me, I don't care for you, I want to end this relationship. It's not a very serious relationship. In any real relationship, there are going to be a variety of emotions. So, Krishna is big enough to absorb our anger, to absorb our fear, to absorb our doubts. So it shouldn't be that because of our fear, our doubts, our anger, uh, our insecurity, it shouldn't be that we don't go toward Krishna because of that. Draupadi didn't say, Krishna, you didn't come at that time, I'm not going to talk with you now. Not like that. She spoke her heart to Krishna. Sometimes you may even feel disappointed, Krishna, I worked so hard for this and it didn't work out. It could be in our in family life, it could be even in our devotional life. Sometimes things don't work out. But the point is that so Krishna understands and accepts it. They're natural emotions, and just having those emotions doesn't disqualify us from devotion. So devotion is actually a very big relationship. Within that, negative emotions can also have a space. So like we say, one of the secondary characteristics, secondary emotion bhakti is horror, bhayanaka, vibhatsa. So now if we are absorbed with Krishna, how can there be any horror? Terrible things can happen in this world and a devotee can be horrified by that. So as long as what happens is, those emotions, they will come and they will go. But underlying that is the steady relationship. So sometimes while practicing bhakti, we will feel very happy, sometimes we will feel a little unhappy. But that underlying relationship stays steady. So, how do we maintain that faith? I'll talk about one principle over here. So, first point I said is that emotions going up and down is natural. But at that time, when we talk about faith, faith is ultimately a matter of choice. In our life, there are things that can strengthen our faith, and there are things that can weaken our faith. So we can think of times when, by our practice of bhakti, things have worked out positively for us. Or we're practicing bhakti and things have worked out positively. And we can think of times when things have not worked out positively. So the nature of this world is that it is a place where sometimes the evidence of the world will support our faith, sometimes the evidence of the world will not support our faith. So ultimately it becomes a choice of the evidence. Which evidence will I focus on? Now, we say, then how do I make sense of the times when, say, my faith was not supported? That requires some philosophical understanding. But if we shift our focus, it's a matter of choice. What do I dwell on? Then it is up to us to, that's how we can maintain our faith. And those who can help us make that choice, when we have good association. And association also, some devotees, if some devotee is feeling, I'm feeling very hurt, I'm having my doubts. Other devotees should not be guilty there. How can you have doubts? You are supposed to be initiated devotee, you are a preacher, how can you have doubts? No. Doubts can come to everyone. So we need to have, even as they come, but look at the history of our own life and see, okay, right now my faith is being challenged, but there is evidence that my faith has been not just confirmed but reinforced. So look at that evidence. We'll talk more in the morning class. Thank you. Yes, there's some question here.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yes.
Regarding this aspiration, so the aspiration comes from the faith and love or the practice?
Where does the aspiration come from? No. In the Vedanta Sutra, the first sutra is Tato Brahma Jignasa. So the Acharyas, especially Ramacharya in his Sri Bhashya commentary on Vedanta Sutra, almost like a 100-page explanation, he as well as subsequent acharyas, that where does the Brahma Jigyasa come from? Why do some people have Brahma Jigyasa and others just don't have? I have a friend from Russia. He told me he was giving a class in Russia. You are not your body. It's a basic philosophical point he was saying. And suddenly one person in the audience raised his hand. Yes. So I have a question. Yes. You said, I am not my body. If I am not my body, then whose body am I? So the idea of bodily identity is so deep rooted that it's very difficult. So where does Brahma Jigyasa come from? It's a difficult question. So taking that point further, from generic spiritual inquiry to a specific devotional aspiration. So the same principle applies. So there is a lot of analysis, but broadly we can say there are human factors and there are divine factors. So the divine factors, of course, Kripa, grace or mercy. Now, among the human factors are our past karma. Some people may have practiced some bhakti or some spirituality in previous life, and that's why purva abhyasena tenaiva riyate yavashopisa. They are naturally attracted. It can be of our upbringing. Say, the way our parents raised us. Of course, you can extend it forward, it can also be our association. So we come in the association of devotees and then we see them practicing bhakti, that inspires bhakti. And ultimately, it is our choice. So our upbringing or our past lives karma, even Krishna's mercy, they can prompt us in particular directions. But it is ultimately our choice. So now if you consider the kripa, we don't know when Krishna will be the kripa. We can't control that. Our past karma, whatever it is what it is. We can't change it. Our upbringing, also it is what it is. But we can say, if we make these as two separate factors, our association, is what we can change, and that can inspire us to change our choice also. So where does the aspiration come from? It depends. So it's like sometimes it can be an outside-in process. Sometimes it can be inside-out. What does it mean outside-in? Sometimes that means we act our way to emotions. That means I just come in the association of devotees and they are praying, they are doing kirtan. So I also start doing the kirtan. Then they are offering diya, I also start offering diya. And then by that action, the devotions has come. That's more like outside in. Now sometimes it can be inside out. That means we feel our way to actions. That means someday, okay, I just today Janmashtami. I feel like going to the temple. I feel like let's see where there is a Krishna program going on. I want to go there. And that's what brings us. So that's more of inside out. So whichever way, that's why the operational principle at our level is yena kena prakarena mana Krishna nivesha. Somehow or the other. It can be outside in, it can be inside out, whatever way it works. And even during the course of our bhakti, sometimes we may be driven more from outside in factors, sometimes inside out factors. Both can be. Is there some question? Yes. Do you have a mic here?
Krishna Prabhu, something related to this inspiration and aspiration. If you're going to explain it later, then I will stop here. Otherwise, I would like to continue. The thing is, for understanding or to practice pure devotional service, inspiration can be the association of devotees or our liking towards the clarity of philosophy or whatever.
Mm.
And the aspiration should be only done for the pleasure of the Lord, so I'm doing it. So can I understand it this way? Inspiration and aspiration.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely one way to understand it. In one sense, you could say that it's the same principle of desire, that inspiration is when the desire comes to us. Aspiration is when we bring the desire from within. So, in that sense, there is a slight difference. Now, we could go further, and when you talk about aspiration, the aspiration can be at various levels, the inspiration can also be at various levels. Mm. Say, if we go to Vrindavan now, especially now Govardhan has become very popular. Lot of people do Govardhan Parikrama. Mm. And I was talking with devotees over there, those who guide people in Govardhan. You don't need much guiding, but people, they told me that for many people who come Govardhan Parikrama is like a weight loss exercise. It is, it's something pious also, but it's not very far from Vrindavan, far from Delhi. So you come to Vrindavan, it's natural, it's scenic, and it is some level of exercise. Now, of course, they don't do it formally, they don't have like a Govardhan Parikrama marathon or something like that. It's not that common. But the idea is now people are coming for that reason. So, is that a bad thing? Is it a good thing? It's a good thing. Yena kena prakarena. So the aspiration, maybe they could just go to a gym and they could just walk on a treadmill, but they're choosing to go on Govardhan. Now we may say Govardhan is not meant for losing weight. That is true, but the point is that somehow or the other, people connect with Krishna. So the aspiration can also be at various levels, and similarly, the inspiration can also be at various levels. So the inspiration, okay, my friend, he went and did Govardhan Parikrama, or she went and did Govardhan Parikrama. So let me also go and do it. Now, some of them may have done it out of a more devotional purpose. Some of them may have done it for a more health purpose. That's okay. So generally speaking, the dynamic of inspiration and aspiration is independent of the level. So we do want to aspire for pure devotional service, and then we seek the inspiration that will give us pure devotional service. What happens even in devotee association, there are different kinds of devotees. Some devotees are very interested in gossip, isn't it? There is, when does gossip happen? Gossip in our tradition we call it prajalpa. And generally what happens, two things have to come together for gossip to happen. First is we hear something we like about someone we don't like. So if we like that person, then we won't gossip about them. If something bad has happened, or something bad is being circulated about them, something negative is being circulated, then maybe we will tell their guide or we'll go and clarify with someone. But we hear something juicy, something masaledar about, you know, everybody thinks this person is such a good person. Now, in public interest, I will tell what this person's actual nature is. So, some devotees come together, but their interest may be more to gossip, isn't it? So, it's not that all devotees come to Krishna consciousness for Krishna consciousness only. It is like the nature of the mind is such that it is always looking for alternatives to Krishna. So even in Krishna consciousness, we start looking for alternatives to Krishna. So one alternative is a little more tamasic is we come in the association and then we start looking for faults, looking for negatives of those that are in association. So our aspiration and inspiration, we would like them to be more elevated. But it's a dynamic both. Both are related with the desire, how it rises. So, thank you so much. Okay, you have a question? Yes, last question.
Prabhu, why did you say that karma can never change, but we can change karma by time?
Did I say karma can never change? When did I say that? In what context? Oh, okay, okay. Okay, here. Okay, good observation. Okay. So, when I see the. Okay. Let's see if I can explain this in a way you can understand. Uh, First, I'll confuse you. Okay? See, words have many different meanings. So that's called the multivalence of word. Like in English, the word run has 650 plus meanings. Like, I'm going for a run. I'm running because my car has stopped running. Because this person is running for president, I am running away from this country. So the word run has different meanings. So like that, the word karma also has different meanings. So you are using the word karma in terms of reactions. So reactions to past actions. So yes, the reactions to past actions can be changed by bhakti. That is, that aham tvam sarvapape vimokshesham, Krishna says. But karma can also refer to actions themselves. When Krishna says karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadacha. So karma refers to actions. So when we say past actions, so whatever actions we have done in the past, say if we plan to wake up at 4 o'clock, but we woke up at 6 o'clock. Now, no matter how seriously we chant Hare Krishna, we can't wake up at 4 o'clock today. Isn't it? That past action cannot be changed. So in that sense, I use the word karma. Our whatever actions we have done in the past, they cannot be changed. By Krishna's mercy, the reactions to them can be changed. Now, karma can also refer to the action-reaction principle, like the law of karma we talk about. That means actions will lead to reactions. So that's the third meaning. Now, karma can also refer to one type of action. Like we have karma, akarma, vikarma. So it refers to good action. Now, karma can actually also refer to duty. It's actions means any actions. We all need to do our karma. That means we all need to do our duties. So the word karma has different meanings. I was you referring to it in this sense. You were referring to it in this sense. Does it make any sense? No. Yes or no? Yes and no. 50-50. Okay. So see, suppose we make a mistake. Say you are giving an exam, and you give a wrong answer in the exam. Then the teacher may say that, okay, you can give the same paper again next time, and you can do better. So now that exam, the wrong answer we have given, we can't change that. But we can have a second chance in which we can do better. So, but sometimes if the teacher is not very helpful or whatever, they say you give the wrong answer, you lost the chance. You cannot do it again. So that's different. So Krishna is merciful in the sense that if we have done some bad actions and we are meant to get some bad reactions, so we are going to lose the chance. But Krishna will give us a chance again. So in that sense, the reactions to our past karma can be changed. But the action itself, once we have done an action, nobody can change that action. That Krishna has arranged the world in such a way that time flows forward, time doesn't flow backward. So once an action is done, we can't undo the action. So I was talking about that. Thank you. Very intelligent question. Very Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Rupa Goswami Pada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna, so we're so very grateful to Krishna Chaitanya Charan Prabhu for giving us such a wonderful precursor to the subject of pure devotional service. We're very, very excited to know what is the true characteristics or the inherent characteristics of pure devotional service itself. Prabhu's lecture was so enlightening. He himself has summarized the points that he made towards the end. Prabhu, I just wanted to ask now if at the moment our relationship with Krishna is transactional, but definitely after hearing your class today, we want to make it transformational. So the way this journey is achieved is by understanding the glories of pure devotional service, which will inspire us to practice pure devotional service, and that's our aspiration.
Correct, yes.
So we will go through this flow with this lecture and the coming 3 lectures with Prabhuji. And thank you very much, Prabhuji, for how should I say it? Generally, for people who are practicing Krishna consciousness, it's mostly to do um, with reading on the surface of what the scriptures say, and then somehow making some connections here and there. But the way Prabhu presents the Krishna conscious philosophy is that he makes the connection to what Krishna speaks in the Gita so deeply that there's very little room for us to miss the point. So thank you, Prabhu, for bringing us closer to the teachings of Krishna, which actually means bringing us closer to Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, Guruji, we will have the next section in the series tomorrow at 10 o'clock. What have we announced? 10 o'clock, same venue. We request all of you to be present here 10 minutes before the scheduled time, so that we can continue with this beautiful explanation of the subject of pure devotional service. And there's one announcement there. Deepa Ganesh Kumar Mataji's birthday. She's here. Okay. She's a new member. So it is her birthday, and she has sponsored the prasadam and the sweet to seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas. So we'll request Mataji to cut a cake and then